Matassa, this is such uh it's dope because coming from serving in the Air Force together, working in civil engineering, to now talking about taking some of those same um, strategies that applied to working with the trades and applying those to helping trades-based businesses actually intentionally grow as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to like grow their businesses as opposed to just kind of being prisoners within it. So an example of that, um, one of my clients, well, one of our clients is on vacation, literally right now, and where that comes from is having a framework in place so that he doesn't have to be there 100% of the time, which is not something that they could have done last year this time. So it really does. It
Yeah,
makes it
that's
makes
dope.
all yeah, it makes all the difference in the world. But before we get into what we came here for today, um, let's rewind back a little bit
Oh, how far back?
to those old Air Force days. So starting with you, Matasu, like what motivated you to join the Air Force to begin with?
I was in Cleveland working at Target, and it was just time for a change. And it was either relocate or join the military. Relocating came with its own list of trauma of not knowing where I would go, being in a bad neighborhood. So it was the military. Air Force had the shortest basic training. I feel like it was 6 weeks at the time, and I feel like that's about the amount of time I could take somebody yelling in my face. So that's what I went with, and here we are.
And how did CE come about?
You know, the whole reason I ended up in the job I was in, the description for that job has changed drastically. At the time when I read that description, it mentioned something about real estate and computers. And as we know, right now, it's like real property, but it did
Right.
not, it said real estate and computers. So I'm thinking, I'm going to be a computer genius and I'm going to understand real estate. Sign me up. And I got to training, and they were like customer service and unit control centers. And I was in that thing pouting. You understand? I was not, it's like, it's not computers and real estate. I've been bamboozled. But I will say being in CE or civil engineering was is nothing like it. It was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Now,
So
my story is similar to that where so like firstly my dad retired out of the Air Force as an electrician. So
mhm.
um in his experiences, he didn't want me to join the military at all. So
Mm.
not only did I join the military, but I ended up coming in right after him, but I came in open general though. So uh
Me too. Accidentally.
so then
Accidentally.
by when I'm reading the job descriptions, it was the same thing that you just described. Like I'm reading real estate and what I'm saying, working in the office, administrative. I said, sign me up twice. Cause it was like they had like obviously cops is always on there.
Yeah, open general. I was so because the recruiter was like, "Oh, if you go in open general, it's a bigger book of jobs that'll be open when you get down in basic training." Line at behind. I said, "Oh, a bigger book I got down there." I was like, "Weather cop." I said, "He wait till I see him when I get home because he lied to me."
Yeah.
No, no,
Nah.
nothing against the military police. We love y'all.
Right. But I don't want no parts. I'm
Yeah,
straight.
yeah, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So it was that and aerospace physiology and something else. And I was like, yeah, that one right there. Let me get a piece of that.
Ridiculous.
So then I get to my base and to Ramstein, Germany. And
Mm-hmm.
Matasa, would you believe that when I got there, um, they didn't know that I was coming. So I flew into Rhine, Main, which is about an hour away from Ramstein. They had no idea I was coming. I didn't really know how to get in contact with them. So I get off the plane and
Oh
obviously
my
everybody's
goodness.
speaking German and whatnot. And I'm like, bruh, I'm about to be stranded in Europe, son.
I did not know that.
19 years old, like
Oh my
fly
goodness.
into Germany and I have no idea. So then like actually getting to the unit and seeing the crux of what it is that we do, they, obviously put me in service call first. So I'm starting to receive all of these, and I was on night shift
Oof.
initially, because our, generally the phones get transferred to the fire department in the evening.
Amen.
Well, at Ramstein, the the 3E6s or the operations managers manage the phones 24/7. So
Mm.
we had to work shifts, and so I'm on night shift, and we're receiving all of these calls and whatnot, and that was where my whole like process improvement journey began, but it wasn't intentional.
Mm.
It started from I'm working on night shift, and what I mean, I'd be sitting in the back sleep, and then the phone ring, and I'm looking at these flip charts that have all of the information that I need to do my job allegedly, and it's just old phone numbers, it's old contacts, like
Yes.
nothing was updated. So when I'm processing these calls, I'm like fumbling around trying to figure it out, and I'm like, bro, like this ain't so.
It's always got to be a better way.
Right, right. So I started making updates to all of the resources to make my job easier because I got sleep to be getting to when I'm at work. Like y'all interrupting me with all it, you know what I'm saying? So I start updating all of that, and then my supervisors are coming to me, Airman Bullock, did you make those updates? Did you? And I'm like, yeah. Right. Obviously, I didn't tell them that they were interrupting my sleep, but like it was making my job more difficult. So, I'm going ahead and make these up. So now they done made a big fuss about it. Like, like this is a great thing. This is a great thing because I wasn't the only person on shift. So,
Right. Anybody could have done it, but they didn't.
right. So now that like they starting to like make that a point, like great job, great job. I said, oh, okay. So you mean to tell me that you finna like give me props for being lazy? Because that's really what this about. Like I'm being lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to keep having to flip through all of these. I just need what I need to be
Efficient.
there. You
Efficient.
know what I'm saying? I needed to be there.
Mm.
So that was where like the whole journey started because from there, they tell me about uh BTZ, and it's like, okay, so you mean to tell me that if I do my job and I know my job, you gonna promote me to E4 6 months early. So I'm like, I'm calculating that because that was the biggest pay raise up until that point. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that makes sense. And then they threw something else on there. They said, look, based on being promoted 6 months early, it changes your eligibility for staff by a year early for staff sergeant. So I'd be eligible for staff a year earlier if I made BTZ. So now it's just a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, bet. So you mean I just need to do my job and I got a chance to not only make the senior airman, but then I could do the same thing with staff too? Say less. And and that's where my journey started of like actually caring about process and, making things flow smoother, because they kept rewarding me for updating stuff that everybody else was just looking past and working around.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you made the binder of how to repack the tent. Repacking that tent was kicking my tail every class. And then I got it down to a science. But it was like, I feel like I was the only one that knew it. And if I wasn't there and I come back, I'm like, who packed this tent? And then here comes Jesse with the binder, pictures. I said, oh, okay, I like what he did there. Now all I got to do, back to him being lazy. Now he just get the students the book. He ain't even telling them how to repack the tent. Read the book, all instructions in there. I'm about to sit over here. I'm like, I'm mad, but I'm not mad because it makes sense. Why I got to stand here and give you every single instruction week after week when you could just read this binder? If you could read, you could do mostly, right? So yeah,
Oh man, no, that's and I forgot so much, man. Like I don't,
so much.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, no, that's real. So, um, when I saw you live a week or two ago,
Hmm.
and you mentioned your aspirations, I was just like thinking to myself, I said, "Self, this woman has been doing what we're doing now with clients in the military, and is a big motivator. Like, so what we did in the military is a big motivator to why I we specifically focus on trades now,
Hmm.
because did that, and it's like she been teaching folks these skills, you know what I mean, and been a senior non-commissioned officer with real responsibilities, now retired. And I'm just like, I can easily see the through lines to like all of the things that you did then to how that translates on the civilian side.
Yeah,
So it's like super exciting to be on exploring this journey, to see where it goes.
definitely.
See if it's something that you can see for yourself. Because again, the working with the trades, man, it's the same. It's the same kinds of challenges that we navigated in the Air Force are
Definitely.
some of the same challenges, with the exception of not having a blank check, because obviously in the Air Force, like it's no shortage of waste. So,
Always.
so
Always.
how would you summarize the 3E6 career field, coming from initially reading that page and being bamboozled to like actually
Um,
get into your first base, and like literally moving up to the ranks, getting into the senior space? Like how was it to
it
learn the
was
civil engineering world?
a lot of jargon and processes and programs and management that I didn't expect. Um, Coming from a fresh pair of eyes, never heard about the horizontal or vertical or knowing plumbing terms and things like that. As I began to learn a job more, I understood that what we do or what we do as operations management were super important. We control basically the base. The work requirements that come in, you have to manage those, you have to process them, make sure they get to the right shop. The control centers that we have to stand up in times of readiness, whether it's training or real world, like what's happening right now. Customer satisfaction, because that's always key. If the customer's not happy, they're going to complain to the higher ups and they're going to come down. and then prioritizing work, because some people feel like it's their building or it's their space, so it's important to them. But we have to prioritize, where do we send the HVAC shop? Where do we send the electricians first? And then projects. We sometimes have to manage projects that we didn't know that we were signing up for. So it was very exciting going up in the ranks and learning the different aspects of the job. Because when you first come in, you think, oh, I'm just a customer service rep. But as you promote and grow and develop, you understand that what you do is so essential and key to the mission, and trying to get the younger airmen to understand and value and appreciate what they bring to the mission sometimes gets lost in translation because you can't see. It's not like if you're a plumber, you fix this toilet, now the toilet works. There's no real tangible end result for everything that we do. But it was amazing, and
Right,
I
right.
truly enjoyed it.
No, and it's interesting as all of the things that are going on in Iran. When I rewind back to my last assignment and where we met, uh, Silver Flag. So the function behind Silver Flag is to prepare mission support resources, i.e., civil engineering, the services, what they call now, force support,
For support.
the services folks that are responsible for lodging and dining and um,
We
yeah,
don't want to say, but like more mortuary affairs,
right,
morale, recreation, things like
right,
that.
right, and then com with all of the communications. So our function at Silver Flag was to train folks within our respective career fields to deploy and set up in a bare base configuration, which means that there's like nothing there. So,
Hmm.
we get there and we got to establish our own security perimeter and establish the flight line, the temporary flight line, which is a whole process within itself.
Yep.
But it's what enables our military force to project across the world because regardless of where the need is, our civil engineers can come in and get that process started and sustain it. So,
100%.
we got like the red horse side of civil engineering that is really from bare conception to the prime beef side of civil engineering that's focused on the sustainment of that infrastructure that's been established. So again, like tying all of this stuff together and moving it forward, that structure that you spoke to is a lot of what we're going to cover today because I know when I had to go to those planning meetings and the ops updates and preparing for all of those and all of that stuff, I didn't have the full like contextual understanding of its importance
Hmm.
when I wore the uniform because like I was just getting my check and getting promoted. Like what I got to do to get promoted, bro,
Yeah.
type of thing. But like all of those things that I had to do in the process are a lot of the things that are happening right now with clients as far as helping them to understand what scheduling the job looks like and being intentional about controlling the outcomes as opposed to whatever happens.
Hmm.
So
Definitely.
in that one of the major issues that I've seen with trades businesses is not having an actual goal that they're specifically working toward outside of just making a paycheck
Hmm.
and not having a report to the man. It's like as long as those two blocks are checked,
Yeah.
we good to go. And that's a scary space to operate from because it creates like a prison. So, without those goals that tell us, because the goals give us the ability, the goals and targets give us the ability to measure what good looks like so that we're not just in a perpetual cycle of just doing stuff. So, when I'm meeting with the clients each week, we're literally talking about what the year to date revenue looks like in comparison to what we did last year. And we know if we are on track to meet our growth goals for the year or if we are behind. And that is an intentional framework that, again, oftentimes is not a thought at all. So, we're going to talk through some of the strategy that goes into actually having a game plan, an actual true revenue goal. Because what generally happens, if there's any form of, like, if you ask a business owner what they're a small business owner, especially
Hmm.
in the trades, so we're the fact we in March already is insane. But
Very.
like it we literally we it felt like we just got into 2026. So I'm going to refer like if you ask a small business owner at the end of 2025, what's your growth goal for 2026? It's generally just like a arbitrary. Well, if I did 500,000 last year, then I want to do 1 million this year, and it's like okay,
Yeah, but how? All right,
right,
really quick. I don't
right.
mean to cut you off,
No,
but
you good.
if you're watching this really quick, can you put in the chat what kind of business you run, operate? Because we kind of want to know if this is going to be beneficial to you. I'm pretty sure it translates across different career fields, but just if you're watching now or later, put it in the chat. If you're watching later, we'll get back to you. But if you're a small business owner, let us know what kind of business you're running so we'll know who our target audience is. Okay,
Absolutely,
thank you.
absolutely. No, thank you for that, Matasa. And I'll speak to that because regardless of what the industry is, business is business,
Hmm.
period. So, like the principles of what makes a business, that doesn't change. So, regardless of if you're in the trades, if you're a real estate agent, if you groom animals, if you,
So
whatever
if
that
I'm
you
a
do,
hairdresser, if I'm
yeah,
a chef who owns a small catering business, if I do notary, anybody will be able to use this system.
100%. And that's
Okay.
what is, because again, the principles of business are that. So every business generates revenue. So from, well, excuse me, every sustainable business generates revenue.
Hmm.
Um, so to have a framework to not be flying blindly relative to establishing growth goals, that comes from the profit and loss statement, which and your balance sheet. But your profit and loss statement is a tool for every business. Like it's like the report card. It's the
Hmm.
true report card of every business because we can feel that things are going great, but what those financial reports reflect are, they are the story when they are accurately maintained, and that's a whole other conversation for another day. But um, saying that to speak to your point there, Matasa, and again, thank you for bringing that up, so that those that are a part of this stream and kind of listening listening along, these things apply to every every business. Now, I speak about trades in particular just because that's our target demographic for the reasons that we've already covered at the beginning of this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But um, again, those principles apply universally. So if it's a trades or if it's a beautician that's operating a beauty salon, you ask the owner of that beauty salon what their growth goal is, and it's a remixed version of the same thing. Like,
Mm.
okay, so I made 300,000 last year. I want to make six, and it's like, oh, yeah, I get it, but that's like completely arbitrary.
So
So
do you feel like they're just making this up, or they're being lazy for not tracking, or
no,
how do
got
what's
you.
the
No,
problem?
they not lazy, not at all. Just don't know. So
Mm.
like the way that our public education system is set up is to pretty much condition you to be fed into corporate America to work for somebody. So,
True.
there isn't a lot of intentional conversations in grade school or college about truly operating a business, because even a lot of the professors that teach college, like you go in and pay a whole lot of money for an MBA to be taught by somebody that's never ran a business. So
That's true.
like they're speaking in um it's like it's hypothetical, like they know what they've read and they know what
Mm-hmm.
they've been told works,
They haven't lived
but
it.
exactly. So like that's where it begins, is just a lack of education, right? It's not laziness at all. It's because to have the courage to hop off of the conveyor belt that feeds us into corporate America, to do something independent, like that's a what I'm saying, like that can't be undervalued. That's a huge, what I mean, like a lot of courage and moral strength to
Definitely.
to endure that, to say, you know what, everybody else is going left, I'm going right. Like, so no, that's but it's just once you hop off that conveyor belt, now you got to figure it out on your own, because the
Mm-hmm.
conveyor belt is already set up to cover a lot of the stuff that people are just mindlessly going through life taking advantage of. Whereas once you step off of that conveyor belt, you got to build all of that on your own, right? Like you got to understand why, you got to learn for yourself why in
Mm-hmm.
corporate America they have, weekly meetings and, quarterly projections and, all of these things. Like they do these things because it's necessary to have control over the financial outcomes. It's not something that they just doing willy-nilly. Like there's a purpose behind it. But a lot of small business owners again don't have that understanding.
So how would
So
they get there? Like, what's your suggestion to? So I have family members that are doing hair, that are chefs, and if they're watching this, we want them to be successful.
right,
So if I don't know, what's the
right,
solution?
right. Well, um that's the core of what it is that we do here at Bullseye Consulting. So we have an array of resources to support entrepreneurs, but I mean, even down to the self starter, um, we got we got a lot of resources to support in that. But what I'd say is to first, um, because scaling a business requires balance. So if we're just focused on increasing the sales,
Hmm.
but we're not thinking about what it takes to be able to deliver those sales. And, let's say that, because I mentioned a beauty salon that may have done 300,000 with a goal of doing 600,000. Well, the
Hmm.
story underneath that is, in order to generate that 300,000, the owner was working 60 hours a week, stressed out all the time, no time to do nothing, can't take no vacation. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's just like it's grind. If they not at work, the business suffers.
Yeah.
You know, like so that's the under story of that 300K. So then to come in and say, man, I'm gonna do 600K. Well, are you getting ready to work 120 hours a week?
Right. You're
You
going
know
to
what I'm saying?
double the effort from last year, which was already too much.
You know what I'm saying? So in order to that growth point starts at again first having um, a goal to where you want to go, like, and from there it's tons of resources out there, you know, like I don't want to just spend my time here just promoting Bullseye Consulting. I really want for, and that's why I'm doing all of this. I want for small business owners to succeed with or without Bullseye Consulting, because small businesses are the backbone of this country. And
Definitely.
when we don't have a strong base of small businesses, there's a direct correlation to communities breaking down and not really having the resources. You know, when small businesses are thriving, they're employing the communities that they serve. They're paying taxes within the communities that they serve. They have the ability to invest in nonprofits that further support the community. And when they're really profitable, the politicians are going to come knocking. So,
Mm.
you know, at the foundation of communities are small businesses. So, um, I'd say, you know, when if the team is already built that can sustain the workload and the business owner is not required to be in the mix of everything, then you know there's a you focusing on sales. So you know there are folks like Alex Hormozy and Russell Brunson and Alan Dibb. You know, it's a lot of different folks that Myron Golden. It's a lot
Mm.
of folks that specifically focus on building a sales funnel infrastructure that continues to generate leads that convert over. So, you know, those are some resources to follow on the sales side. If that framework has not been established for a team to actually operate in, and
Mm-hmm.
that's necessary, um I don't know. Like I've been doing this since 2018, so I'm not a YouTube university uh graduate. Like I've been doing this for real. So
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a lot of YouTube resources out there. I can't really speak to them because I haven't used them, but I'd say, you know, check out your YouTube for operational efficiency, you know, if you don't want to go the Bullseye Consulting route. But if you take nothing from what we're talking about here today, is to educate yourself and to be intentional about educating yourself. One of the resources that can help with that, I use Perplexity, because Google has lost its flair for
Oh,
me.
Google
Yeah,
be pissing me off. It's
yeah,
like lazy sometimes.
right, right, right.
Like, don't give me nothing. Really quick, I just want to say Jesse mentioned um kind of making up a revenue goal. If you're watching this, put a one in the comments if you have ever had a revenue goal that was just kind of made up, and then drop a two in the comments if you actually have a plan and that you know what your quarterly distribution looks like. And don't lie. Tell the truth. If you watching my live specifically, I just talked about lying a couple of days ago. Okay. Be honest with yourself, be honest with your business. And if you know that you need help setting revenue projection goals, hit Jesse up. Again, if you done made it up, say, oh, like he said, I made 300,000 last year. I want to make 600,000 with no plan. Give us a 1. If you had a plan and you have been executing it, give us a 2. Okay. Jesse,
Matasa, you are a natural.
thank you. Thank you. You know,
Oh
I
man.
talk all day. Don't get me started. That's why I got my, my juice quenching my throat because I be dried that thing out talking too much.
Right, right. So in that, when we're talking about actually setting those goals, um, what that does, like actually having the intentional goals, it
Hmm.
establishes the foundation to prevent yourself from like really operating blindly and like not because financial loss happens a point at a time. In other words,
Mm.
if our baseline payroll cost, for example, is 25%, in other words, we spending 25 cents of every dollar on labor,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden it increases to 32%, then that 7% variance is a financial loss. So
Mm.
when we look at the total amount of revenue that the business generates in the course of a year and we multiply that by 7%, that's loss. Those are real dollars. So, which would have otherwise been profit. So, again, by not operating blindly, you get to minimize that. And also being stuck in the cycle of paying the reaction tax of this issue that manifested this week creates a compound effect. So if we don't recognize that this issue that happened this week caused us to lose 2% in profitability, and it just compounds throughout the course of the year, that 7%, that 2% grows to 3 to
And you
4
say that's
to
a
5.
reaction tax?
Yeah, yeah. Like you paying for that perpetually.
Mm.
So all of the stress of how do I make payroll, or how do I get this vehicle that I need in order to grow, or how do I hire this person so that I can train them and get out of the weeds. The money is there to do those things, but you didn't let it bleed out in inefficiency. So
Mm.
as opposed to taking that 7% and applying it towards the growth of the company, it just bled out, right? Because what that means is when it goes from 25% to 32%, that means that whatever it is that the company produces got more expensive,
Mm.
which it shouldn't. And so an example of that in a restaurant, if if the owner of a restaurant has 2 boxes of tomatoes, and you know the tomatoes are the same size in both boxes, and they give one box to employee A and the other box to employee B, and don't give them any standard as to how to slice those tomatoes, then you're going to get different results.
Yeah.
So employee A could ultimately end up producing 200 slices from 200 slices of tomato from that box, while the other person is producing 125 slices,
Mm.
and these are the same tomatoes. So that means that box A is going to service more food options than box B, because we've lost all of those slices of tomato because the person that was slicing them wasn't slicing them properly.
I don't know why, but I pictured Burger King or McDonald's and we have to put 2 pieces of tomato on a Whopper. Now I'm 75 pieces of tomato short. I can't serve this many Whoppers.
Exactly. Which means that, so the box of tomatoes that's 75 slices short, those sandwiches just became more expensive because the material costs increased. We got to
Hmm.
pay more for the tomato because we produced less. in the cutting of the tomatoes. So now our margin has been impacted by how we slice those tomatoes.
Mm.
And that's why a lot of restaurants don't make it, because cooking is an emotional experience for a lot of folks, myself included, where it's like, I can have a recipe, but it's like, nah, I'm about to put a little bit more of this in
Mhm.
there, a little
Mhm.
bit more of that in there. You know what I mean? Like, I know when I put this in there, it's finna make it go. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
throwing that in there. Like, it's an emotional experience. And then once the food is finished, and you feeding others, you gonna take the biggest ladle, the biggest, and like you slopping that on the, because you finna enjoy all of this
Mhm.
sweat and love that I have invested into creating this for you. So you gonna get the big slab of macaroni and cheese and the rib, like all of that, which comes down to portion size, right? So, and I'm just kind of speaking to, again, why restaurants in particular have to tie how all of this marginal, the margin monitoring, why it matters, and how it contributes to that reaction tax that I'm speaking to.
Mhm.
Because um, when we talking that emotional experience of, you make that big pot of whatever it is that you make, and now you're over serving it. Well, that pot was actually supposed to serve this amount of dishes, which equates to this amount of revenue. But if you put in more in this bowl than what should be in that bowl, then now you've reduced the amount that that pot should be able to serve. So now you got
Mm.
to pay more in material costs.
And I think as business owners, I'm not gonna say we because I don't have this, but I'll say we probably don't think about that part.
Right.
And so now I feel like the goals that we're setting are made up. And
Right.
so what's the solution to these made up goals?
So
I read somewhere you said something about a health score or revenue health score or something like that. Tell me
absolutely.
all about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm gonna get to that in just a second. Thank you,
Okay.
Natasha. No, you doing your thing. You doing your one too. I appreciate you.
I've
Um,
been reading a little
so
bit.
so the last piece is the stress premium, because
Mm,
when you're operating that business and each week you sitting at the computer like, man, I got to make payroll, and just stressed out. Oh, I got to pay rent. Like, I got these taxes that's due to the state, the taxes that's due to our quarterly taxes are due. Like, it it's a real thing. And then the piece of working the 60 hours and not being able to take time off and not
yeah.
being able to spend time with family and all of these things, it just creates a whole nother level of stress that folks got to deal with as business owners. And it really results in a prison, like in being imprisoned by one's own passion. So you go
Yeah.
from loving doing something enough that you quit your job to, you know, dedicate yourself to it, to that dedication turning into being imprisoned. And now it's like, I don't even love doing this no more. You know what I'm
They
saying?
turn
Like,
from a
I used to,
passion to a prison.
there you go. Like, I used to love cooking until it became my business. Now I can't stand this shit because I can't just chill.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like that stress premium is so important. Which
Mm,
brings us to that revenue health score that you alluded to. That piece is so important to kind of be thinking about, like um what good actually looks like.
mm-hmm.
So when we're talking the growth trajectory, for example, that speaks to when we're comparing 2024 to 2025 comparison, what when we're comparing those 2 years rather, how much revenue did we do in 2024? How much did we do in 2025? And what is the gap between that from a percentage perspective? So did you grow by 2%? Did you did you shrink by 5%?
Mm,
Like what did that trajectory actually look like from 24 to 25? And the reason that that piece is valuable is it it gives you a real time, like a real accounting of what your natural growth has been, so that you can take that if you know that you grew 2% from 24 into 25, then you're planning for a 2% increase from 25 into 26 because
mm,
you've already achieved that. Or you know that you did that 2% increase with no intentional investment in marketing. So in 26, you're actually going to invest into marketing as well. So you're planning for a 4% increase. And that's not just some arbitrary, I'm going to double my revenue. It's,
mhm,
I did 2% from 24 to 25. So I'm aiming for 4% from 25 into 26 because I'm also going to be putting together these marketing strategies that are going to that are designed to increase the top line. So looking at the growth trajectory is a huge piece. Next up is the seasonality. So when we talk about that arbitrary goal of, what, I'm going to go from 300 to 600, and in order for me to calculate my monthly goal, I'm just going to divide the 600,000 by 12, and as long as I make this every month, I'm good to go. And it's like, well, that doesn't take into account the seasonal component of operating a business.
mm,
So there are there are high points in the year for most businesses, and there are low points in the year for most
mhm.
businesses. So I hear it all the time
Yeah,
where
me
it's like,
too. My sister-in-law is like, "Oh, she a hairdresser." She's like, "Oh, this is my slow season." But I'm like, people need their hair done all the time. But she was saying the summer is more people on trips, they on vacation, so they more getting their hair done in the summer. And
right,
I'm not a business owner, so I never thought about seasonal
right.
balance in
No,
entrepreneurship.
it's a real thing. So the thing about seasonality is the first time that a business owner experiences seasonality, all right, bet you got blindsided. The second time that you experience it, it's like, okay, so this already happened and it happened again. Um, all right, like what are we doing? And everything subsequent to that, bro, you made a choice.
Mm,
Like you have just subscribed to this seasonality thing. Like you're not doing nothing to market in advance to offset that. You're not looking at additional revenue stream opportunities. So it's like if I know that this service that I provide starts to dry up in September, but this thing that I can be doing is something that peaks in demand in September, then I'm going to start my marketing campaign in May
mm,
to build up the demand for that additional revenue stream by the time that I'm expecting for the seasonal effects to kick in. So it takes you knowing what that seasonality actually is so that you can proactively plan for it. But the the issue with a lot of business owners, unfortunately, is they're so caught in the day to day
yeah,
of surviving that they don't have the time to be thinking beyond that. It's like, yo, I got to make it through the day.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You talking to me about months, oh, bruh. Like I got to make it through the day.
Because I mean, if I'm a roofer, obviously when winter comes, I ain't on nobody's roof, right? So you saying I need to have a plan before winter comes.
Right? Right.
Okay.
And by understanding your seasonal performance, you're able to proactively plan for that. So like with the trades in particular, one of the things that I'm constantly, so because there are certain trades that the seasonal thing is a real challenge to overcome. So, if that is, so for example, like a concrete person, like they are obviously going to be impacted by the seasons. So it's like, all right, if we know that working outside is going to dry up for this period of the year, then how are we securing jobs that are in house? Who do we need to be talking to? So if it's like a garage, right? Like if I'm
Mm.
pouring concrete inside of a garage, or working in commercial spaces that have concrete requirements,
Mm.
like how am I getting in contact with the general contractors that can get me on those types of projects during the time that I can't be outside?
Mm.
Or um like everybody is always looking for labor, and good labor. Like when you got good folks, when you got a strong team, you can loan that labor out. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It's like, all right, so you need somebody for that project, I got you. And now I'm billing them in order to cover the payroll of
Mm.
my guy, to include the workers comp and all of that stuff. And I'm just going to loan them to another company so that they're remaining productive throughout the year. Like
Mm.
there's is multiple ways to skin this cat, but again, the point is to first understand the trending seasonality within the business, and that comes from looking at your financial statements and knowing, okay, so when I look at the full distribution of the year, 7% of my revenue came in January, 12% of it came in February, 30% of it came in June. Oh shoot, okay, so 30% of it came in June. Like, what are those service? Like, where, what things were we selling in that? So we can make sure that we have effective training processes in place to be able to train our team uh, to keep up with the growth, because we know that during this period of the year is when there's a high demand for this particular service. So this year we're going to increase that by marketing in advance of it, so that we take up more of the market, we take up more market share of the demand, and we're able to service it, right? because
Mm.
because we know that that is coming, and we need to have our teams prepared to keep up with that demand. Because when the team is not prepared to keep up with that demand, then now we're jeopardizing the margin on any
Mhm.
of the jobs. So what would have otherwise been profitability ends up being bled out in frustration and annoyance from just trying to keep up, again, trying to survive.
Yeah.
So that seasonality piece is absolutely critical. I see you checking the chat. Are you getting ready to say something?
No, no.
Okay, all right. So that seasonality piece is absolutely critical, and then from there, understanding the execution pace, as far as once we get into, when we've established our goal for 2026, and we're like intentionally and proactively measuring how well that we are performing to the goal that has been established. So when we know what our seasonality is, and we know the distribution of our revenue throughout the course of the year, i.e., quarter one we brought in 30% of our total revenue, and quarter two we brought in, you know, 27% of our total revenue, whatever that those numbers break down for the 4 quarters of the year.
Mhm.
Well, now when we come into the new year, we planning for 40% or 30% of the total goal for the year being done in the first quarter of 2026. So now, as we're going through every week in the first quarter, that is a measurement to how close that we are to hitting our goal for the year. Because when we hit our quarterly goal, then we know that we're on track. Uh, Conversely, if we know that we are below our quarterly goal, then we got some making up to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or, we may be working on different priorities. So, for example, one of our clients is we are focusing on the internal capacity piece. So, although we are currently trending below the revenue goal for the year as it currently stands,
Mm-hmm.
we're improving the margin. So, by shrinking the cost of goods sold by investing in the team, they're getting the jobs done more efficiently. So as they're getting the jobs done more efficiently, we're able to do more with the same team that we have, as opposed to bringing on more work. And now we got to go hire more people because the team that we have don't have the capacity to keep up with it, as opposed to the same team being able to execute more work because you've increased the efficiency. So since we are prioritizing the efficiency right now, we're not so much focused on the fact that we are below our quarterly goal because we see the efficiency improving.
Mm-hmm.
So as that as that marginal performance is shrinking and the efficiency is growing, well, the profitability is growing, well, now we'll bring in more jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to market as the team is getting more efficient so that when the additional work comes in, we don't necessarily have to hire somebody else and
Mm-hmm.
we'll still be able to keep up with it. Or when we do hire, we've got a team and culture that is established in which when we insert the new person into it, they're immediately providing value and efficiency because the culture necessitates it. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's accountability. We know what the day should look like at the beginning of the day. And at the end of the day, we know if we hit our markers or not so that we can talk about that the following day to say, hey, we planned to do X, Y, and Z yesterday. However, we were only able to get to, and now the gap between those are all going to be opportunity. So,
Okay.
um, again, understanding where we are relative to the goal for the year. Um, so in that, in kind of thinking about the those components and how that ties to truly setting an intentional goal. Hold on, let's see. Do, 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 do.
In the meantime, he's looking up something. If you guys are enjoying the gems that he's dropping, let us know in the chat. Tell us so far what's your biggest takeaway. One thing I know I didn't think about is the stress. I can't even read my notes. The stress that he talked about. Um, that's a big deal for entrepreneurs. I don't think sometimes we appreciate the way they stretch their limits as business owners, especially if you are solo doing that thing.
For
Ooh, a calculator.
Yeah. So,
Oh boy.
what this does, this is the equivalent of the binder that you spoke of, the new age binder.
Got you.
So, when we're adding in, what we're getting ready to calculate is growing from $490,000 in 2024
Mm-hmm.
to 545,000 in 2025, and what that looks like going into 2026. So
Okay.
here we go. We got the 490,000 for 2024, and when we move to our next piece now, this is what gives us the ability to um, establish the quarterly distribution plan and to also understand what the seasonality is of the business. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and this is all accounting for 2025's performance. So when we go 34, 685, 55, 892,
Is this
50.
calculator on your website? Is this something a small business owner can just click into?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So by going to www.bullsinc.us/01, this calculator is available fully complimentary, along
Oh,
with
that's dope.
a breakdown of the core components that we're talking about here today, as far as the stress tax that we spoke about, and
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that having an intentional game plan and goal enables you to avoid or leverage. So um,
Give me that website again.
it's www.bullsinc.us/01. So 48. Let me get the 48.
So if you slow a little bit like me, what he said was www dot bulls inc bullsinc .us/01. And if you are a small business owner, let us know if you're going to go to the calculator. Let us know after you use it. If you clicked in it and you put your information in there, I think this is a dope resource, um, for no longer guessing at what your business is doing and actually getting concrete information as to looking forward to the future for your projections and your revenue. This is awesome.
Yeah. So this piece here is given the ability to measure where we are in 2006 relative to the overall goal. So, um, like truly, when it comes to being intentional about business growth,
Mm-hmm.
my my outlook on that is that we end the year a week at a time. And the reason
Mm,
that that is the case is, for a business owner that is receiving their profit and loss statement, or they're looking at their profit and loss statement once a month,
mm-hmm.
the vulnerability that comes along with that is, so let's say, because again, bro, the fact that we're in March is absolutely nuts. So to compare February's closed out financial performance to January's closed out financial performance, let's say that our material cost increased from 22% to 28%. And so we in January, we spent 22% of our total revenue on materials. And in February, we spent 28% of our total revenue on materials. Again, that gap, that 6% gap, those are
Mm-hmm.
real dollars. So let's say that the cause of that 6% variance happened in primarily in the second week of February. And we are now looking at our financial reports in March.
Mm-hmm.
What is the likelihood of us remembering all of the things that happened in week 2 of February in March as we're reviewing them now?
Slim to none.
So now, whatever that attributed to that 6% loss, we have no idea what caused it, because it happened, and so much has happened in between
Right.
when that loss was manifested. So by looking at your performance on a weekly basis, you can quickly, if you see a gap between last week and the week prior, you know what happened last week.
Mm-hmm.
right? You can still remember what happened last, especially when you look at because I deal with this all the time where we look at the financial reports each week with our clients, and whenever that we see those gaps, like, because running a business is hectic and can be hectic, and um it'll be astonishing the things that they not necessarily thinking about until they see the results, and then, oh, so that's how that caused all right, because now they can see the
Yeah.
feeling that they had last week, they can see it manifested this
Mm-hmm.
week, and it's like, okay, so now I need to adjust these particular components of how we do things so that we're not continuing to eat this loss that we're experiencing. So uh, what we've just done is entered in the 2024 overall revenue performance, the 2025 revenue performance split
Mm-hmm.
out by month, and the 2026 year to date revenue performance split out by week. And when we calculate, so we have a solid foundation here based on the distribution. So you can see here the distribution of the quarterly revenue. So it's not a situation where one quarter is significantly above the rest of them. Like
Mm-hmm.
we pretty much got flat performance throughout the course of the year, with the exception of quarter two. So if we know that the majority of our revenue comes in quarter two, we can go and look back at what types of services or products primarily comprised that quarter two performance to prepare for, how we're training our teams, and how we want to market for the rest of the year for the other areas of the business. Now, based on the growth, so as you can see here, there was a 13.7% growth from 2024 into 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So a 13%, a 13.7% increase of 2025 would put the 2026 goal at 633, 650.
Wow.
With this distribution um, throughout the quarters. So
Mm-hmm.
going into to coming, like, actually operating in 2026, we know that we should be able to generate 22.5% of this 633,650 between January and March. And if we are not at that number by the end of March, then we are pacing behind where we need to be at in order to hit our 13.7% increase from 25 to 26.
Okay.
So, in that, based on the 7 weeks that have been tracked, we are currently 72.9% to the goal, which means that we are below where we need to be in order to hit our goal for the year. So, based on the stats that have been input, we're projected at 461 currently. And, you know, in the breakdown of that is the opportunity to intentionally establish, your goals and milestones of what good looks like. So if we know that we are currently pacing below where we need to be for the year, then what kinds of marketing activities are we going to engage in to right the ship,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that, as you can see, this is designed to give insight and a roadmap to having an intentional goal. It is completely free, because, again, my goal here is to create the framework for as many small businesses as possible to fully succeed and to not be flying by the seam of their pants, because that's not what gets it done. So as you can see, all this information that comes, you get the report as soon as the information is input, and you kind of get an idea where you are. Now,
Mm.
there's also the opportunity to get a more detailed report, because I've structured this to immediately provide this information, because with this information, you can already kind of start getting some
Yeah.
things and moving in motion. Well, the comprehensive report actually gives a little bit more, actually a lot bit more, roadmap to some of the things to consider based on what the results are actually reflecting. So, to that point, one of the things that's
Mm.
important to speak to is the confidentiality of this information. So, we don't keep any of this information. Like, if the report, if you don't get the report sent to you, then it just goes away. If
Okay.
you decide to have the report sent to you, then the information comes to you. But we're obviously
It's
not
not
using
shared.
anybody's information for nefarious purposes. This intent is to help. So
So this
yeah.
is really dope. It's like you get the calculator, you put your information in, you get your score, you see what your weakest link is, and then you kind of can go from there. So it's no more guessing or creating or making things up or hoping the business succeeds. It's right there laid out in front of you in black and white, actual numbers. So that's awesome.
100. Because contrary to some of the things that we're seeing right now, like, hope may be the plan for the United States government and what we're doing over in Iran, but hope is not a strategy in small business.
It is not. Definitely not.
Yes. So, yeah, like I said, the intent here today is just to speak to that piece. Um, I've taken which when I got out of the military 12 years ago. That's nuts. Nuts. The amount of people that were telling me, uh, you got 10 years in, like, as if I don't understand basic math. You know
Well,
what I'm
just in
saying?
case you didn't know.
It's a little insulting. Like, you only got 10 more years and you get a retirement check for the rest of your life. And I'm like, bro, 10 years is a long time
A very long time.
to to be doing something that I know ain't for me no more, for one. But most importantly, 10 years is a long time to master a skill that takes my retirement, not what I make in a month, not what I make in a year, but the total, all of it, and makes it a drop in a bucket to what I'm able to produce on my own. Like, 10 years is a long time. So, me having the confidence that I've always had, I'm like, bro, I'm willing to bet on myself. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I took that time to invest into learning all of this stuff with intention. Like, I wanted to become who I am. So, to now be able to be having these conversations, especially with my sister here, like, it's super dope.
For
And
sure.
to take all of that further to be able to help others, you know what I mean? Like, uh Hove is my favorite rapper, and one of his lines is, Hove did that, so hopefully you ain't got to go through that. And that's real. Like,
For sure.
I done went through a lot of learning the game, and dealing with folks that were surprised when I walked into the room, but picking up what I needed to pick up in order to bring it back home. So
Yes.
Yeah.
So, man, that was awesome. One more quick question that I know you have already got an answer for me. A lot of times you click on something, somebody tell you, oh, it's free. And you click on it, and now they want you to put a credit card in for future billing or to kind of get you. So, just really quick for the people that are watching, you telling me this calculator that's going to help people in their business is 100% free.
Yeah.
No gimmicks,
Absolutely.
no credit
No.
card, no.
No.
Okay.
No. So in order to get the um because there's an 11-page PDF that really covers a lot of what we spoke about here today.
Okay.
And in that 11-page PDF, at the end of it is a link to the calculator, which is absolutely free.
We love
And
free,
yeah, so when you go to www.bullsinc.us/01,
which I
uh,
did.
that down there at the bottom, there's a area to enter your email. And when you enter that, the PDF will be sent directly to that email. And from it, like I said, you got access to the calculator. And the results of the calculator are 100% free as well. All of it is like, and based on the results of what's entered, there's a more detailed report that's tailored to whatever that your results are reflecting.
Okay.
So yeah,
Man, listen, this has been dope,
for
very beneficial, very educational, very eye opening. Um, we appreciate you for sharing your time with us. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us.
right,
And so
right,
we appreciate that. Free
absolutely.
information, free calculators. And yeah, I'm just grateful and appreciative to be a part of what you're doing. We appreciate your time. We appreciate the gems and the knowledge. And we look forward to getting some more of it.
Yeah, man. I say we do it again the same time next week. What do you think?
Why not? Well,
All
let
right.
me get back to you. Let me get back to you. More than likely, I'll be available. Um,
All
so, in
right.
the meantime, how can people get in touch with you or get more information about the business coaching that you're offering?
So by going to www.bullsinc.us, uh, it's a pretty good breakdown of how we go about really serving entrepreneurs at all levels. So
Okay.
from the from the entrepreneur that has an aspiration to hop off the hamster wheel but don't know anything else beyond that, we got self-paced courses that really speak to all of the components of
Hmm.
building a balanced and intentional business that scales in a sustainable way.
Okay.
So like the sustainability piece is so important where you know the worst thing that one of the worst things that a business can do is to grow faster than it's ready to keep up, because as all of the demand is coming in, people have expectations that have to be met, and when those expectations end up falling short because the capacity isn't there to keep up, then now the brand and the reputation starts to suffer as a result.
Hmm.
So the our 7 leverage and legacy systems that we've designed, which everything that we're talking about here today comes from our strategic vision and forecasting system. So this is one of the lessons in the
Okay.
in that course, and there are multiple others that we'll be kind of covering over time. But um, the strategic vision and forecasting system is designed to educate uh, business owners on what it takes. It's kind of like the CFO focus, right?
Okay.
Where we
Okay.
got intentional goals and we're measuring those goals in real time. So, speaking to having a dashboard, which so Matasa, if you were to go hop into your vehicle, put your key in the ignition, foot on the brake, car in gear, just to recognize that, just to recognize that your dashboard is completely out. So, in other words, you got no speedometer to tell you how fast that you're going. You got no fuel gauge to let you know how much that you got in the tank to potentially get to where you're going. You got no temperature gauge to let you know if your engine is in danger of overheating. And you got no oil gauge to let you know if everything is properly lubricated within your engine for you to not be on the side of the road struggling. Would that be a source of concern for you?
I'm getting out the car.
Right?
I'm getting the Uber. I can't trust this car.
So the strategic vision and forecasting system is all about that, that dashboard component of the business of knowing if, like knowing where we're going, if
Hmm.
we have everything that we need to get there, if everything is set up for us to not break down or overheat, right? Like that's the strategic vision and forecasting system. So um
So
when you go to
basically, y'all
W
got to stay tuned because he gonna be dropping all kind of knowledge. We ain't about to give you the whole kit and caboodle today. Okay, we got to save some for next time. You got to give you a little drop, and then you come back. Okay, because listen, I know Jesse Bullock, and when he passionate about something, he gonna give it all to you, and we ain't gonna give it to you all today. We gonna give you a little bit. So we done told you about your profit leak. We didn't talk to you about your reaction tax, your stress premium, your growth trajectory, your seasonal balance, and boy, your execution pace. So we done gave you all the information that you need to get you a good growth projection, to get you, he even giving you a free calculator. Now, don't be greedy today. Take what we done gave you, eat it, digest it, and then come back next time. And we're gonna give you some more. Okay? But Jesse, thank you for sharing your information. If you didn't stay with us for this hour and a half, however long we've been talking, because when we get together, we can talk. We appreciate you.
already. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate
today,
that.
and one more time, if you tuning in late, you can see the website above his cap, www.bullsinc.us. If you want the calculator, you add a /01 to that. That's where you're going to get the free calculator to find out what your score is and then get in touch with him to go from there. Because if you feel like your score is bad, or you feel like your score is good, or you want to know what to do with the information, that's your man right there. He gonna tell you everything you need to know once you get that score. Not today though. You got to go there, get your number, and then hit him up. He gonna get you squared away for sure.
Man, Matas, I appreciate you. I
No, the pleasure
deeply
was all
appreciate
mine. The
you.
pleasure was all mine.
Yeah, yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So, um, I'll definitely be doing this quite regularly as far as going live because the times that we are in, like more of us as business owners, like we got to be real intentional about what it is that we're doing. The world economy is that foundation is shifting underneath our feet as we're sitting here on this live. And
Definitely.
as everything shakes out, it's going to be a lot of people that's going to be casualties of war. And I'm not even talking about Iran. I'm talking about casualties of what the economy
Hmm.
is going to do. So to be intentional about building something of value that not only provides financial security over the short term to take care of our families, but longer term, more importantly, the long term generational wealth building aspect of it, of truly having an asset that can be passed along and continue to generate value. So
Definitely. All
I'm
right.
Tasa.
Thanks for tuning
Appreciate
in.
you.
Thanks for being here. And yeah, until next week.
For sure. Peace.